ओके हेलो एवरीवन। सो आज यूपीएससी मेंस का फर्स्ट जीएस पेपर कंडक्ट हुआ, GS1 एंड GS2, एंड राइट नाउ इन दिस सेशन वी विल बी डिस्कसिंग अबाउट द एंटायर नेचर एंड कंटेंट ऑफ जीएस पेपर 1 जो इस साल का मेंस का पेपर रहा। नाउ ओवरऑल दिस पेपर वाज quite, you can say, easy, not completely easy, and it is only easy for those who had followed प्रॉपर सिलेबस, हु हैड गॉन थ्रू द पीवाईक्यूज, राइट। तो जिन्होंने भी पीवाईक्यूज फॉलो किया, जिन्होंने भी सिलेबस को वर्ड टू वर्ड फॉलो किया, फॉर देम यस दिस पेपर वाज क्वाइट बेटर, क्वाइट इजी एंड इजी टू राइट द आंसर्स, राइट। नाउ इफ वी सी ऑल द क्वेश्चंस, ठीक है, इन क्वेश्चंस में कुछ पैटर्न है, कुछ ट्रेंड है, ठीक है, जिनके बारे में हम विद एवरी क्वेश्चन वी विल डिस्कस। बट एक ब्रॉडली लेवल पे एक जो नया पैटर्न एमर्ज हो रहा है, दैट इज इंक्रीजिंग नंबर ऑफ क्वेश्चंस फ्रॉम द ज्योग्राफी एंड सोशल इश्यूज, राइट। बिकॉज सी ultimately as a future bureaucrat you need to resolve the real issues, right? You have very lesser thing to do with the past. Definitely knowledge of history is important, right? But actually government wanted those administrators who know the real problems and realities going on and can give a effective solution over it. And that is how we can see increasing number of social issues and increasing number of geography questions first. Secondly, majority of questions, not majority you can say, but many of the questions are repeated from the PYQ. They are from the favorite themes of UPSC, right, which has been studied by these students, and questions are normally direct one. So let's discuss each one of them. Number one is discuss the salient features of Harappan architecture. Now a very plain question, okay, and very favorite topic of the students whenever they start with the ancient history, whenever they start with the art and culture. So a straight question, easy to attempt directly from the syllabus. Secondly, examine the main aspects of Akbar's religious syncretism. Now remember, this question is quite a mix of medieval history and the art and culture. Why? Because it requires example of Akbar's policy, and it also requires references of his art and architectures patronized by him, which clearly show how he was religious syncretic in nature, right? So though mains may medieval history is not there in the syllabus directly, but we can expect this kind of indirect questions for sure. Apart from it, one more easy question from the art and culture part, okay, that was in regarding to the temple architecture, right? And whenever we read about Nagara architecture, right, there is a Chandela school of architecture which is quite prominent, read by everyone, and the question again came from that dimension only. So broadly we can say the question from the art and culture, or you can say, okay, from the some part of history, they were direct, they were from the quite popular parts of the history, right? Chalo. Now if we see the other question, let's see the questions of geography, okay? Even the questions from the geography itself were from the those areas which are quite prominent. Let's see. Number one, that is about the climate change. See, the theme of the question is very much traditional, which usually students prepare whenever they read about the climate change, right? How are climate change and the sea level affecting the existence of many island nations, right? So quite popular part of syllabus. Next question, yes, this is something which was quite unconventional, right? Not too much difficult to attempt. Normally we read how India's agriculture is influenced by the climatic condition, but this time question became, it is from non-farm primary activities, right? Apart from the farming, other activities involved in the primary sector, how they are influenced by the physiographic features. So quite unconventional but not difficult to attempt. Now next, again one more question from one of the most prominent theme and a direct question, that is explain briefly the ecological and economic benefits of solar energy generation in India with suitable examples. Yes, Many students, they know about the dimensions of what, how solar energy is better for us, how it is a need of the future. But here the core thing is needed what, example. Remember, example is not desirable, example is mandatory in this question. Otherwise this question is again doable. Now, next question is from the tsunami. Now remember, in one of our previous videos we talked about in the UPSC exam, especially in a mains exam, previous 6 months current affairs is quite important, and this has been shown in the question. Let's say tsunami. Recently in the month of June, we have seen a tsunami in the region of Japan and the Hawaiian Islands, right? And the question came, and the direct one, no very much you can say difficulty, but yes, one thing was there, you need to sum up everything in 150 words. तो ये थोड़ा सा एक tricky part था, otherwise question was clear, question was very straight one, right? Apart from it, if we talk about, ठीक है, how does smart city, so question came from the smart city mission. See, normally whenever any government scheme, government initiative, whenever they like complete their 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, they comes in the exam and the same pattern, take it, with the smart city initiative, right? Again, but what they did, some unique aspect is they connected smart city ka concept with the distributive justice and the issue of urban poverty. So somewhat they made it tricky, not too much. Yes, the next question, it is quite unique, the question number 9, where they connected how the ethos of civil services in India stand for the combination of professionalism with the nationalistic consciousness. That clearly means not just following rules and laws is required for any bureaucrat. They should be doing their work in every manner in the national interest only. That was the crux of this question. So quite unique question in the GS paper 1, because normally these kind of questions are either expected in GS2 or in GS paper 4. Now let's see ahead. If the 10th question, if we see, right, it is linked with the globalization, with the aggressive consumer culture, because the way world is again getting towards westernization, if we say in short, okay, which is also tagged as a globalization. So that globalization we know, but a very unique dimension given in this year's examination, that is how it is responsible, or up to a which limit it is responsible for aggressive consumer culture, and what are the other dimensions are also present whenever we talk about the effects of globalization. Next question, very unique, and again from the current affairs itself, because recently we have seen one film was released on the life of Mahatma Jyotiba Phule, right? And then controversy erupted, and question came in the examination how his writings and efforts of social reforms, which touched almost every subaltern class, almost all those segments which are vulnerable, which are suppressed. So whether it is women's, Dalits, or the non-Brahmins overall. Apart from it, if we see next, even this time a question came also from the post-independence India, but in a very unique way, in a very comprehensive way. Generally, we only talk about India's political consolidation after independence, but this time question came with the various dimensions, like dimensions of number 1, polity, economy, education, and the international relations. So these things actually made this question very much unique and quite tricky in nature. See, normally geography's questions and the questions of the history and art and culture, they were direct, but question of society or let's say social issues, they were quite tricky, they were quite difficult to attempt to write. Either it was requiring, number 1, multiple dimensions, right, or the concepts were like quite difficult or complex in nature. Same goes to post independence, though we had only one question from the post independence, but question became quite difficult. So those who are avoiding post independence, it's a kind of alarm for them. Next one more question, but this time even UPSC covered world history, and again from a very famous theme, that is a French Revolution. So even ignoring world history is not an option, and see, the level of question is not that tricky. It is quite, you can say, normal and a part of the regular syllabus. That means a doable, but only when जब आपने रिवाइज किया होगा उसको. After that, a question that directly came from the previous year, that is, give a geographical explanation of the distribution of what? Of the offshore oil reserves of the world. See, it is PYQ also, and also it's a part of current affairs. Right now we are seeing how the entire Middle East is in crisis, right? And we all know majority of these oil reserves are in those countries only. So even it is current affairs plus linked with the PYQs. So you can see how the PYQs plays their prominent role in the examination, how the current affairs are also very much important. Apart from it, one more question from the current affairs, but again you can say that current affairs was not that popular. That was, in recent must you have seen that the Varanasi city's mapping was done with the help of drone, and question came, how can artificial intelligence and drone can be used for locational and the area planning, right? So quite technical, but you cannot say completely alien, right? Next question, it is all about, or you can say again from one of the favorite topics, that is plate tectonics, right? Discuss how the changes in shape and sizes of continents and ocean basins of the planet take place due to the tectonic movements of the crystal masses, right? See, the core concern of this question was the words, right? Content is quite less, because whenever we talk about plate tectonics, we aware with the theory, but extending it or stretching it up to the 250 words was quite difficult task in this particular question, right? After that, you can see a good question in a regional specific reference. Discuss the distribution and density of population in the Ganga river basin with special reference to land, soil and water resources. See, now Ganga basin is important from one point of view, a huge population, and recently whenever we talk about delimitation, inauguration of new parliament house with the increased number of seats, the concern was that only. Possibly when that delimitations limit is going to be defrozen, possibly North India may get extra advantage. So the question came on that theme, but indirectly, right? So a very good question. Next one is about how do you account for growing fast food industry? Again, a question, one of the very much prominent one, because whenever we are seeing the health issues, whether it is obesity in India, the main concern is the rising fast food culture. So UPSC asking direct question, which are the real concerns, which we discussed in the beginning, right? As a bureaucrat, as a future officer, then wants you to solve the contemporary problems. So question number 18 was from that domain. Next one, sustainable growth and environmental protection, again from a very traditional theme, and again it connected with the poor people's needs. So you can say this was question based on development versus ecology theme, which is quite traditional. And yes, the 20th question was quite tricky, quite unique. Does tribal development in India center around two axes, those of displacement and of rehabilitation, right? Because definitely tribal issues, जब भी हम बात करते हैं, we simply talk about these elements only. We do not go beyond from it, like empowering these communities in situ. We do not talk about those things. So that's why UPSC came with that question. So again, question looks like it's a very complex, but if you just understand the theme, it is quite easy. So this is how overall we discussed how the economies, now GS paper 1, right, was quite, you can say, on a easy side, or not exactly easy, let's say a moderate, because a question of the social issues came with some kind of complexity. But do follow syllabus, do follow PYQs, definitely you will get the best result in your mains paper. Thank you.